At this point, we have a little bit more to do before we go out to the social hour and the poster sessions. We've asked Clayton Spencer, who's the president emerita of Bates and who was up here on stage before, to offer some reflective remarks, summary of some of the things that you've heard today. Clayton, as you've heard, and you've heard about Bates, has been very involved in this work, purposeful work, for quite a while. She's also a member of our steering committee, so we thought, who better to ask to come up and talk about all the things that she's heard and to provide some comments to you to think a little bit more about.
It was a lot easier to convince a liberal arts college to embrace the concept of work than to try to summarize today. So thank you for the opportunity, Keith. The first thing I want to say is thank you to all the people who've put this conference together. Though I'm a member of the steering committee, I am not one of those people, so the credit goes to Rick and Keith and Marge and Dana and Ella, and who am I forgetting? Hannah. So for putting the program together and bringing us all together. Second, thank you for the determination to do that, to let us be here in community and in 3 dimensions, and to get to know each other in those wonderful serendipitous ways that a gathering like this makes possible. And if you notice, is to the extent the medium is the message, is often a lot of what's going on in all of the programs that have been described. It's been wonderful to talk to each other, and we've got plenty of more time to do that. And I also want to thank Jack DeGioia, the staff at Georgetown, all the people who've come in and helped us with catering and all the audio visuals and everything else. But really for the generosity and hospitality of Georgetown for letting us host in this really wonderful setting, and for the time Jack, who I think is a pretty busy guy, taking all day and on several occasions just having really wonderful contributions to make in terms of setting both the content and the tone of what we're up to. So we all have heard what we've heard. Yeah, thanks. We've all heard what we've heard, and I'm sure people have taken different lessons from it. So I just thought I'd offer a few reflections, if I could read my writing, which I really can't. But one of the things, there's some important, I think Angela's phrase was productive tensions in the way the discussion has gone. So let me just name some of the ones I noticed. And I see productive tensions as a great example of dialectical thinking and dialectical ways of moving through the world, which usually makes life more interesting and productive. So we began with talking about, is this nice coalition for transformational education a nice to have? Actually, not. We're here, hopefully, as evidence that none of us thinks it's a nice to have, because everybody is taking time from their important work elsewhere to be here. And I think everyone in this room seems to, or certainly the people we've heard of from so far and talked to in casual conversation, seem to have a sense of urgency about the notion that we're not about giving people badges and certifying them ready to go, but rather trying to give the experiences in college that will ground them in the inevitably wiggly, unpredictable, stressful journey that is life, human life, anytime, and certainly at this time it seems to be very high stakes with lots of stuff going on. We've also talked about, I think Angela again set such an incredibly comprehensive and structured framework this morning. We've also talked about the language of love and hope as being what probably inspired us deep down to get into this line of work and continues to drive us. And it would be easy to see that as fluff or fluffy language, and there have been a few references to that fluff. But what I think is really interesting is the juxtaposition of that inspiring, really compelling, motivating language with highly structured efforts that have timelines that starts with 3 courses and ends with 49, and that start small and reach out to broader and broader numbers of students, that starts with resistance, keeps people at the table, and gets faculty excited about going that extra mile and not worrying about they're already overworked, but they're so excited by this. So I love that juxtaposition of, let's call it pretty words, and highly intentional execution against those visions. We've talked a lot about the individual and the collective. I absolutely love Nestori's care houses. I think that's the coolest concept. I probably, as a college student, might have thought it was like a little touchy-feely, but then that's just embodying what we're talking about. Connection, solidarity, knowing the human beings we're working with, realizing that we're only going to solve the puzzle of our own relationship to ourself and world if we are in community in that way. And we also talked about some of the larger forces that are pounding down on us in terms of political polarization, social isolation, and at least certain voices for an argument that we're sort of imprisoned in a structure of extractive capitalism, which isn't helping any of this. So we've got a lot going on. I think Corey Keyes was very useful in holding up a mirror with the focus on languishing, in holding up a mirror that if you reverse engineered from the problems he was trying to solve, you get right back to where we were. Everybody wants to be needed. They will derive a sense of purpose in part from having something to offer other people. We all definitely need to look inward and understand what matters to us, but we also need to look outward to feel like we have something to offer the world. And there's the basic feeling of solidarity with your fellow human beings, which I think this gathering today embodies. So I would love to hear your comments. I don't know if if I'm allowed to ask for anybody else's observations. Y'all tell me. Okay. But I just want to thank everybody. We've had wonderful speakers who've put a lot of time and thought in, and we've seen the tip of the iceberg, and the icebergs are pretty impressive underneath the waterline. And then all the people in the room who have engaged in such generous and probing and welcoming ways to the ideas that we've seen. So I think I see a lot of new synapses being formed as we move through the day. So now, anybody have any other thoughts, contrary thoughts?
Anything to add to what Clayton was saying? Any other parts of the summary? This is actually part or in preparation a bit for the exercise tomorrow. At the end of tomorrow morning's session, we're going to ask you to have a conversation similar to what Clayton did in taking notes here at her table, amongst your table, and then report out, similar in the way that Clayton is now doing. So you can try a few things right now if you'd like, or there will definitely be the opportunity to tomorrow.
I say we go for tomorrow.
All right, we're going to go for tomorrow. That sounds great. Thank you so much, Clayton. Thank you.